What's up, Tweener heads? Welcome back to another Tweener tennis video today here on the channel. And today we have a very special guest, Damian, who is a contributor to Cracked Rackets and Last Word on Tennis. And I'm very excited to have him on to talk about the ATP Challenger Tour. Now, for those of you who don't know, there are many levels to the tennis game, and we talk about the Challenger Tour, which is basically the step below the ATP Tour level tournaments. And I think this is very important for people to understand what's going on in the tennis world, how people are rising onto the ATP Tour, and why there aren't any WTA events really for these players. And because there's over 120 events for the men, but only 6 to 12 when it comes to the women's tour, when they have that step below the WTA Tour level and the ATP Tour level, and seeing that contrast between the two. We also recap what's been happening on the Challenger Tour level, as well as who's been standing out the most, which players we can see coming up onto the ATP Tour level, just like Aslan Karatsev has been doing this year. So we are excited to bring to you this segment. And if you guys haven't joined the channel yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button with notifications turned on. We're trying to get to 2,000 subs, so if you can hit that sub button, it would really mean the world to me. Make sure to go check out Damian. All the links to his socials are down in the description below. And enjoy the video, guys. Hope to see you soon. Enjoy. So how are you today? Thank you for joining me.
Oh, great. I'm always looking for a new opportunity to share my passion for the Challenger Tour. So it's definitely raise awareness about it, because I still feel like people don't know it exists.
Mm-hmm. I think it's hard for people to grasp that there's more tennis below the ATP Tour level, because if we were to go briefly through, we have ITF Juniors, the ITF Pro Circuit, and within the Pro Circuit, there's different levels of prize money. Then you have the ATP Challenger Tour level, and then you have the ATP Tour. To kind of break that down into levels of play or competition, you would say, it seems like the Challenger level is kind of overlooked when it comes to getting to that bigger part of their career.
Yeah. Still a lot of people do not know that every match is streamed. They do not know where to go in order to watch. And they don't know that the quality is actually pretty nice, and if you can get just a single person watching from this episode, then that's gonna be a success.
I think it's crazy, and again, I apologize for the lawn mowers in my backyard, because that's going to be annoying now. It's crazy that we have live streaming for this for free. People don't know that you can watch. I have Paulo Lorenzi playing in the background at the Rome Garden Open, and it's free, and we have over 500 people watching it.
And we still don't get every single match from the main tour, right? Tennis TV has these, like Antalya in January wasn't streamed at all. A lot of doubles matches aren't. Sometimes there's that weird thing in France, and here you just have everything. Obviously, there are some issues sometimes, but for free, I'm gonna take it. I mean, it's I also have Lorenzi playing in the background, obviously. So,
kind of getting into it more about you. What background do you come from? And you're a writer for, what is it, the Last Word on Tennis.com as well, and you talk about the Challenger Tour on there. I wanted to get your opinion as well. So introduce yourself, and what do you kind of do for the not for the Challenger Tour, but what do you talk about with it?
Yeah, so I'm Damian Kust, as you probably know from the description or the name.
On the title.
Or the title, yeah. And anyhow, my involvement with tennis was only starting to watch it as a fan. And then there came an opportunity when a friend was starting a tennis website, like 4 years ago, was it now? And I just thought, why not? And it turned out to be a fantastic decision. I mean, I really get a lot of enjoyment from that, and it's certainly become a huge passion, not only to follow the tennis tours, but also to do some media stuff about them. Let's say, I'm not calling myself a journalist, but I definitely do some stuff that they do. And it wasn't the Challenger Tour from the very beginning, as probably for everyone. The love started from the bigger events, but then it was actually after I first visited a Challenger live at Sopot 2018 when I fell in love with the lower levels of the professional game. And that's how I also thought, there's not that much coverage, there's not that much media interest, so maybe that's kind of a niche that I can fill.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been, well, focusing on the Challenger Tour since ever since then, I guess. But obviously, I still keep up with the with the big stuff. I watch the Grand Slams. That's not, I'm not crazy. I'm not gonna come here and tell you that you should only watch Challengers. But this is definitely something that I enjoy the most in tennis at the moment. Just the sheer amount of action and matches you get on the Challenger Tour every day is overwhelming sometimes. I mean, I sometimes have to just quit watching for like an hour or two because it's getting tiring.
It's just a lot at once, because if you just look at the amount of tournaments that are being played right now, not just on the Pro Tour, because on the Pro Tour we have, I'm going to try to name them all right now: Stuttgart for the women, Barcelona for the men, and that's all I can remember right now.
Istanbul for the women too, and Belgrade
and,
for the men.
and Serbia for the men as well for the Pro Tour. And then for the Challenger Tour, we have the Rome Garden Open, and which ones are going on as well? Is it
Tallahassee in Florida, and Salinas, that's in Ecuador.
Oh, very nice. See, this guy knows his stuff. Like, can you name every challenger on the calendar year if you were to go through January?
Definitely not, because well, it's not as fixed as the ATP Tour, especially since the pandemic. Before in 2019, the last full season we had, there were 159 challenger events, and I wouldn't be able to name them even if I tried. I think 50 or 60 would be great, I guess. It's simply impossible to remember every single thing. Like, I sometimes wonder, like, if you ask me, I wrote about these tournaments, but if you ask me who won a certain challenger in 2019, it's simply impossible to remember. You can remember 40 events from the main tour or something like that, but right now, no. And as I said, the schedule is really dynamic right now, so no.
I think that's very interesting you bring that up, because it's just hard to keep up with the amount of challengers that are happening right now. And we kind of briefly touched on which ones are playing right now, but kind of looking at the whole year to kind of give you an idea of what's going on this year. What has happened on the Challenger Tour that's been known, or what's been one of the things that's been going on in the Challenger so far in 2021? I almost said 2020. That's where my brain is right now.
Yeah. From an organizational standpoint, I think it's definitely going a lot better than in 2020.
Okay.
We have so many more events, even though the pandemic is still a huge issue. This week is kind of an outlier. It's become a bit too Europe-centric, but that's also taking a turn for the good. There's a new circuit in South America starting soon. I think it's called Legion Sudamericana. It's organized by the former ATP number 31, Horacio Del Pena. Okay. And that's also something that doesn't happen a lot on the Challenger Tour, that events are working together. So that I think that this could be a great platform for the South American players. It was supposed to start a week earlier, but one of the events had to be called off because of the restrictions. Also, some events are holding multiple tournaments at their venues. Like we only have the calendar until May right now, and Biella is gonna hold 7 events in these 5 months.
I was about to bring up Biella because sorry for cutting you off, but Biella,
sure.
They've had 4 within a span of 2 months.
6 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
I think there was like 2 weeks of break. Yeah.
Because it was indoor.
All 4 were indoors.
All 4 were indoors?
Yeah. These next 3 ones are going to be on clay.
Okay. And that's going to be outdoors?
Yep.
Because the Rome Garden Open, the first one's happening now, right? And then the second one's the next week after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been a lot of doubled events this year, and honestly, it's great even for the players. I mean, they just don't have to travel to stay there. I think it's actually something that the pandemic might leave us with. Like after it's gone, I think it might happen a lot more often, because honestly, there's no real. There's besides maybe sponsorship and some TV rights, maybe which obviously on the Challenger Tour doesn't
really matter.
it doesn't really matter that much. So I think we're gonna see a lot more of that. But other than just organizing events, I mean, the players have been playing. I think the general impression after these 3 months is that there are a lot of that this is the year of talented youngsters. Maybe somehow even on the main tour we have a huge generational shift right now, and we have something like that as well. I think on the Challenger Tour, that the big number of fresh talent that's currently winning first titles, hitting their first achievements. Actually, there are 3 players who won 2 Challenger Tour events this year, and all are 20, 20 or 21. Jenson Brooksby, not Sebastian Corda?
Is it Corda?
Sebastian Baez, sorry, and Zizou Bergs, Okay. Corda won one in Quimper. I was done. Many other young winners like Thomas Mahacz or Dominic Stricker or Carlos Jimeno Valero. I mean, obviously there's been some veteran runs too. What I like about the Challenger Tour is always the clash between the guys like Lorenzi who we are watching right now.
Literally,
if you catch our eyes, a little
like
bit.
Looking. I'm just trying to check the score at this point.
I'm trying to watch too. So don't be angry at us for that. But anyhow, that's always the great thing that I like about the Challenger Tour, that these veterans like Lorenzi, Robredo, and Kohlschreiber played last week. They clash with all the young talent, but this year the youngsters are definitely winning so far.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing that you pointed out, because the amount of young talent that we see on the Challenger Tour has been rising very quickly. At least for an American like myself, seeing younger Americans being able to achieve this so quickly really does say a lot about the depth of talent. Whether or not it's going to succeed into the tour level is a whole different story. But who do you think this year, and it's kind of transitioning to my next question, who do you think this year has had the biggest impact on the Challenger Tour, and who's going to make the biggest jump onto the ATP Tour, or the biggest impact on the ATP Tour after being on the Challenger Tour?
I mean, I have to mention some of the guys that I named before. Jenson Brooksby, everyone looked at him when he ended Thomas Berdyk's career at the US Open 2 years ago, but then he missed the whole 2020 season, and he's making up for it in no time. Just won to actually 3 finals in a row and two Challenger events this year. I really like his interviews too. Like, he seems very sensible, dedicated to the hard work that he knows he's gonna have to put in, and he says stuff. Maybe he's lying, but he says stuff like he doesn't care about the ranking. He doesn't care if he's 200 now. It's all about the result in the end. So that's obviously very wise. I think if he manages to continue improving, especially his serve, then the North American hardcourt season could be amazing for him. No one really knows what he plays on other surfaces, so his scheduling will be kind of weird. I also mentioned Sebastian Baez because he also won 2 events. I think he has a lot of the same qualities. Well, it's a weird comparison, but Diego Schwartzman has. I think he could be really a factor on clay in no time. Schwartzman was also a late bloomer. Like, he had a few really unsuccessful years on the Challenger Tour, and Baez was the junior number 1. So maybe that's also very good. Other former junior stars too. Stricker I mentioned, or I don't know, for ATEC. Last year, this year, pretty much we had the main tour breakthrough of Aslan Karatsev, who was 27 at this point. So that's gonna be a lot more rare, I imagine. But perhaps it could also be an inspiration. Artur Rinderknecht, maybe, who played college for Texas A&M, and he pretty much didn't have that much time on the professional circuit yet, despite being 25, I think he is. So he's already made the quarterfinals at Marseille this year at the tour level events. Almost made the semis. Just had some mental problems getting over the finish line. Benjamin Bonzi, also his compatriot. He's been one of the most solid competitors on the circuit in 2021. Maybe I wouldn't expect them to be so good in the clay court season, but in the fall they could certainly make. Maybe not as much impact as Karatsev, because Karatsev only happens once in a while. But yes, and guys like Korda or Musetti, I'm not gonna even talk about, because I think they already count as having broken out. Maybe also sorry I'm going for like.
No, it's fine.
But, maybe also I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't mention Kacper Żuk. the Pole who's recently captured his first Challenger
You have
Tour.
to. You gotta rep.
Yeah.
You gotta rep.
Title in Split, and he made the quarterfinals at each of the 6 challengers he played this year. So I think that's a fantastic achievement. Maybe that is also someone who can make you think of Karatsev, in terms of the constant aggression and just also maybe playing at a very high level on both faster and slower surfaces.
I think that's very interesting. And the 2 people that I wanted to bring up, one, I'm going to backtrack to Jensen Brooksby, because when you were telling me about his run that he's had, he kind of reminded me of JJ Wolf when he had that small run of Challenger Tours. What was it, like 2 or 3 in a row where he won 2 titles?
I don't think it was in a row, but he won 2 titles in February last year, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. He was one of the ones that reminded me of that outbreak that he had later on, or I would say in a row. And another name that you mentioned very briefly was Zizou Bergs. What can you tell us about this Belgian? Because his game, not only does his Instagram provide very entertaining stuff, what can you tell us about his game? Because he just recently captured his first Challenger title in Lille?
Yep. 2 this year, actually.
2
Lille was the second one. First was St. Petersburg.
Okay.
St. Petersburg was the first event of the new category that was introduced, Challenger 50. So for a bit, for the players that are a bit lower ranked, but as you can see, it wasn't it wasn't accidental that Bergs won it. Obviously, Bergs showed up on the tour last year at Antwerp and defeated Albert Ramos Vinoas, which everyone expected him to just
win
out of proportion, and as he even played a great match against Kachanov in the second round, but it came a bit slower. But I think he has a really ridiculous upside. Like that forehand is widely inconsistent, maybe not at all times actually, but I think it's always something to watch out for in junior, well, not junior because he's 21, but in young players, that maybe it's more important for them to have that peak, that amazing upside, as I said, not just a consistent level that will allow them to just stay on the Challenger Tour or just be that's some that he has that something that if he
has that special spark
continues that if he continues to work on that, and he obviously will. I don't have Instagram, so I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, but I think he's modeling, right? Some of these photos.
I'll pull it up right now for you in the middle of this interview, and I'll pull it up on the screen so our viewers can see. He has some good TikToks. I know a lot of people don't like TikTok, but the guy's good at what he does.
Included.
Yeah, it's okay. He like this. I don't know if you can see that, but
yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing in that. He's washing a car. And then he did which one is the gamer one that he did? He did a TikTok where he's like changing character in his TikTok, and I'll just pull up everything on the screen right now for you guys, but he's very creative, and I think a lot of people don't understand that this is where they grow their personality, and gives them a chance to express themselves before they go to the tour. And I don't think a lot of people do that from a professional level state.
Yeah, some people are not ready for this yet, but I think in like 15 or 20 years, we're definitely gonna see everyone, tennis players tweeting just after their matches. Like right now, everyone is like, "Oh, he just lost 10 minutes ago. Why is he tweeting?" Like maybe that's not good for his mental health, but that's not right. I mean, we live in the 21st century, and soon enough, that's what we're gonna see every day.
I think that's really interesting because they are thrown into just a giant pool of players all at once, and with the Challenger Tour and the ATP Tour, it doesn't really get mixed together really well. It's only until they get to the ATP Tour level that they really start, like, people start noticing what they do or their mannerisms or their personality. And which actually kind of brings me to my next question for you. I sent you this question beforehand, is does the Challenger Tour need its own ranking system, or do you think that could be effective in bringing them onto the ATP tour, or having that one ranking system is just more simplistic?
Well, I never really saw any debate of this sort, so I had a few hours to think about it, and I don't think I really see a reason to. I mean, if so, only just maybe for fun, but not to decide on seedings and draw cutoffs. I think there is an issue right now with the ranking that's, with less events both at tour level. Well, maybe not this year, but in 2020 there certainly were less challenger tour events. As I said, in 2019 there were 159, which is an absolutely crazy number. But some of the players that would usually compete on the challenger tour, they are forced to stay on the ITF level, and with all the changes to the ranking system, the ranking freeze, the 22-month system, it's much harder to make your way up now. But I don't really think that the solution would be to use a challenger on the ranking system. I mean, that's personally one of the things that I like the most about the free tours that we have in men's tennis right now. So the ATP Tour, the Challenger Tour, and the ITF, however it's called, World Tennis Tour.
ITF Pro Circuit, I think, is the official
something
name
like
of
that. I think there's also like ITF World Tennis Tour. I'm not sure that's the same thing. Anyhow, the events organized by the ITF. One of my favorite things is that a player can theoretically participate in each, in the space of a month, let's say. So, for example, what if there's a young player who makes a major breakthrough? As an example, let's use Lorenzo Musetti at Rome last year when he made the third round, and then these results, they should count towards his seeding and getting into draws at challenger level, because why wouldn't them? I mean, I kind of feel that creating that sort of different ranking system would maybe make players switch between these three circuits less. Like maybe they would, players would feel kind of forced to say that, this year I'm playing challengers, and right now they can just jump. If you get on a great run, you can jump from the ITF tour to major events in 3 weeks, and that's what I like about this system. Yeah,
I think that's more on the journey that they have to take kind of for the ATP Challenger Tour. It kind of integrates them into that tour level where they get into that top 100 and they are able to start playing ATP tour levels. And I was thinking about it because in other sports you have different rankings. For boxing, you have different rankings for heavyweight, lightweight, welterweight. You have different golf rankings. You have the FedEx rankings, and then you have other tour rankings for golf, but you do have the main tour. When there's all these different levels, I would say, that we were just talking about, it just seems confusing for some people, because when you start to break down the whole concept of professional level tennis, it just seems confusing between ITF Pro Circuit, ATP Challenger, and then the pro level circuit. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. I think just maybe tennis has enough depth to do it. Like golf, I think, as you mentioned, has this like a tour card system, right? Like, I don't know, snooker or darts have it, for example, that there are like 120 professional players. But I simply think it's done because maybe the depth, it just isn't that great. Like maybe there's simply a much bigger difference between the guys who would be ranked, number 800 and the top than it is in tennis. I think we constantly get reminded that, especially in men's tennis, but in women's as well, the amount of people that can play this sport to an extremely high level is absolutely insane. And I would certainly advocate for staying the way it is, at least obviously with the ranking system.
So, and these are my last two questions for you, because I feel like I'm taking up too much of your time.
No.
So for the women's tour, why don't we have a WTA Challenger Tour?
That's a great question. It's actually not for me, but for the WTA people. I mean, the contrast between the men's tour and the women's tour is that there, as you said, there is no direct equivalent. Obviously, ITF organizes some events that are 16Ks, 18K, 80Ks, 100Ks that are comparable in the prize money to the ones we get on the Challenger Tour. But I think that the sheer number of them really pales in comparison, definitely. And also there's the WTA 125K series. But I checked this today. I think in the last pre-pandemic season, so 2019, there were 11 events of this rank. So that's really not enough. For this year, I think there are 13 planned. Obviously, we don't count last year because for obvious reasons.
Last year.
Yeah, last year was last year. And the effect of that is that it's simply tougher to make a breakthrough in the women's game. Like, not in the sense that if you get a huge run at the Grand Slam, it's easy. But you can't really make a breakthrough by consistent results because simply there's not enough tournaments of this rank. And the path from the ITF circuit to the main tour is not as smooth because the organizational structure isn't that amazing. I mean, I really don't like the fact that there isn't such a thing as the women's Challenger Tour. I don't mind the name. Just it can be the WTA series, it can be ITF events, but they simply need more of them.
No, it's true because the only 125Ks or lower level tournaments that I remember from 2019 was the Oracle events, was the Oracle Challenger Series, was the Oracle Pro Series events that went to WTA ATP points and prize money. But Oracle just jumped out of the events. They abandoned that. Well, they didn't really abandon it, but they pulled out of creating them anymore because of the pandemic. And it was stretched very thin at that point. And for me, it's frustrating to see that we have over 130 men's challenger events all over the world. And for the women, 13 doesn't seem like it's possible for any woman to get out of. If you're stuck in that ITF pro circuit or world pro circuit, whatever it is, it makes it more difficult for them to get out of that rut because there's nothing higher above them that they can do that isn't an WTA level event.
Yeah, there simply isn't enough of these ITF 60, 80, 100Ks. I mean, they are happening there. I think there was one last week or this week, but I'm sorry, I don't watch the women's tour that much. But yeah, it makes it tougher to break through, maybe not by a huge run, but by just staying, just getting a lot of consistent results. You can do it on the Challenger Tour, but for the women, it's a lot tougher. So I would definitely advocate, especially if we ever get that merger, that merge between the ATP and the WTA that's been talked about
for years,
for the last whatever number of years. If we ever get that, then maybe that's gonna be a way to push things forward.
Yeah. It's tough, and I think the last question I have for you: what's your favorite challenger in terms of watching, and what's your favorite challenger that you've been to in person?
Okay. Well, in terms of watching, this could be a lot of answers. Well, definitely for the quality of the field, I feel like in 2019 there was that challenger at Phoenix. I think it was called Arizona Tennis Classic in the second week of Indian Wells. That's also I'm just gonna say that in the second week of Indian Wells or slams, that's when we get a lot of high-ranked players at challengers simply because they lost in the first week. So I think in Phoenix, all 16 seeds were in the top 100, so that was quite great. But I also, obviously, I'm crazy, so I also like these challengers that feature no top 200 players. These are extremely rare. But I'm gonna be really biased here, obviously, and go for Polish challengers, which always which always gave me a lot of good feelings. Szczecin, especially, that tournament won the award for the best challenger twice. I think 2016 and 2019. These are voted by the players. I think they choose like four or five best events, but this is. In 2019, I think it was the second biggest challenger in terms of crowd attendance. I think 27K people throughout the week. I remember the first one was in France, but I have no I think it was Brest, but I'm not sure. Anyhow, always I'm gonna give a bit of credit to Mike Cation, because the American challengers that he that he does commentary for, always, he gets. The challenger just gets a thumbs up whenever I hear Mike on the in the commentary box. So that really increases the viewing experience. Obviously, not everyone would increase it the same way as he does, but I think they should probably try to get more people,
more announcers.
Yeah, but it's probably the USTA circuit who
it is.
It is who hires him, right? So it's not the challenger's decision. But at least we get him on the streams, not only from the USTA circuit, but also on the live stream page,
which is awesome.
So as for the ones I've been to, if I don't have to say, Szczecin, then maybe Bratislava was great.
Okay.
That was an event that, well, I'm not sure if it's going to be continued, because right now, as I said, the schedule is absolutely
up in the air.
Yeah, uncertain for now. But back in 2019, for example, it was played in November. Well, last year it was played too, so actually it's going to be there's a good chance it's going to be continued. I couldn't be there last year, but it always had a great cutoff. Like, I remember just around 200. The field was always very stacked. So that was always great. And Bratislava, I just liked it as a city. It's maybe a little bit too stuck in Eastern Europe. Like, just probably looks like Poland 30 years ago. If I knew how Poland looked, not only from the pictures. But I really enjoyed staying there. So
that's awesome. I think if I was to pick one out of the challengers I've been to, I like the one in Dallas. The Dallas Challenger was a good one. Dallas was good. This Rome Garden Open, I was there in 2019. That was a good one, but it's very far out of the way of the city, so it was a very expensive taxi ride. And what other challenger have I been to? Sorry, that was just really big thunder.
No, I didn't hear it. So
okay, fantastic. So then Dallas, Rome, and there was another one that I forgot about. Oh, Cleveland. And Cleveland was not bad, but I thought the Dallas one was better of the American ones. But I really appreciate you coming on today. This was a lot of fun. It was very informative. Would you like to shout anything out? I know you have a podcast too that people can listen to about the Challenger. That's how that was the first piece of content, honestly, that I listened to from you, and I absolutely loved it. What's the name of your podcast called?
Yeah, I mean, it started in January this year as Challenger Tour Podcast. I'm actually not sure how it's called right now, because it's been picked up by Cracked Racquets since this episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually, it's Thursday tomorrow? No, today not. It's Wednesday. So since 2 days, I'm also a contributor there.
Nice.
And the podcast has been picked up by them. And I'm not sure how it's called right now, but it's gonna feature on the Cracked Racquets website and their podcast feeds every Monday. Yeah, this was the 13th episode, I believe. I also have a new co-host who joined me there. So, and he turned out really good. So so he's gonna stay. And yeah, I can invite anyone to join there. I'm happy to. I'm always happy to talk to anyone about challengers or whatever tennis on Twitter. So
yeah, just hint. I'll take an invite.
Okay. I haven't really had any guests yet, but definitely.
No worries.
Maybe once there's like an event that you're gonna be really interested in.
For sure.
Because we started doing this, in like recap the week and preview, but maybe we can also start doing some episodes out of order. Maybe then, yeah, that's definitely something to think about. I mean, I'm gonna have to pay you back for this episode somehow. So.
For sure, but I really appreciate you coming on. You can definitely check out all his stuff on the website, his Twitter, the Challenger Tour podcast, everything. So thank you again so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No worries. I've had a lot of fun. So,
Thank you.
so thank you. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Take care.